Hi, my name is Asha, and I chose print media as the outlet for my client company for their advertising campaign. I currently intern at a tech startup, and it was really interesting for me to research how a tech company would advertise their product in a newspaper. My company, which is called Upserve, sells restaurant point of sale systems like cash registers and also restaurant analytics in a subscription as a service business model. I chose a Southeast Asian, specifically Indian newspaper to research. The newspaper is called The Times of India, and it circulates in Indian cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, but really the newspaper is everywhere, and it can even be found in Hindu temples around the United States. Times of India is an English newspaper and has both a print and an online version. I thought it would be more helpful for a visual representation of the newspaper and other facts that I'm talking about, so that I'm gonna switch to a visual representation. Thanks. So I'm just gonna get started with some quick facts and stats about the Times of India. News intake in India is split in two: those with the internet and those without. India In India, about 61% of the city population has access to the internet, while only 13% of the rural population have internet access at all. While the population with smartphones and internet access consume their news online, the rest of the population relies on newspapers like Times of India for their news. Literacy in India is also 74%, which is important to keep in mind. In India, newspapers are everywhere. They are also dirt cheap. I believe the Times of India right now goes for 4 rupees, which is about 7 cents. For some reason, us Indians reuse newspapers everywhere. We line our closets and we even line the walls of our kitchens with newspapers. Also, we use newspapers instead of placemats in India. Times of India was founded in 1838 when India was still a British colony. So the Times has really been there since even before the birth of India. And the newspaper is super ingrained in our culture, and nearly all of us Indians grew up around Times. The first image I have up top here is the front page of the Times on August 15th, 1947, which is India's Independence Day. The second photo is a recent Times of India front page, just to show you how much it has changed over the decades. Moreover, Times of India is the largest English newspaper in circulation, not only in India, but also in the world. It is the third most popular newspaper in India, but the first two newspapers are in Hindi, which is India's national language. On to the next slide. Times of India is really well respected in the country, I would say. Times of India considers itself a very intellectual, objective, and relevant newspaper. And the newspaper has tried time and again to remove any political leaning from its articles just to remain and maintain objectivity. The Times doesn't only focus on Indian current events, but also American and international news can be found sprawled all over the front page. The Times of India has a serious tone and prides itself on its prestige and accuracy. I found that the tech writers really like to focus on the complex and innovative pieces of tech. India is a technology powerhouse, producing a massive number of programmers and computer scientists every year, so it's really no surprise that the Times of India tries to stay ahead of the tech curve so as to attract more readers. The article focused on artificial intelligence like self-driving cars and other topics like machine learning and networks. So, in the print or the online version of the Times of India, the readers are used to gleaning over the advertisements. Our best bet is to actually have an article in the paper featuring our product and why it beats out our other competitors. The tech section also has a gadget review section that can be pretty useful to advertise tech products. Moving on to some information about the content. As you can see, the bottom photo here is from the first slide, but I just wanted to bring it up again to show just the density of content and pictures that exist in the Times. It is 6 columns and super picture heavy, and it looks like you would have lots of competition for the reader's attention just between the other articles. To be honest, it looks like what would happen if BuzzFeed decided to publish a print edition. Each headline looks like clickbait. This means that our article would have to be very attention-grabbing and interesting from the headline. Since India is a multilingual nation where nearly every state has its own dialect and even script, it is obvious that it would have multiple newspapers in different languages. So while the Times of India is most widely read in English, there exist newspapers in Hindi that are more popular. Other Hindi newspapers in India are Dainik Jagran and Hindustan Dainik, both of which are more popular than the Times of India. However, other English newspapers are the Hindustan Times and City Vibes, but their readership trails behind the Times by like 3 million readers. So really, the Times of India is our best bet to advertise our product in the Indian landscape. So overall, the Times of India is a great outlet to advertise a product just because of its extensive readership and the culture of newspapers in and around India. I had a lot of fun just researching and recording this video, so